Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make a sleeveless jacket. I have my sketch right here and it is sort of A-lined from the waist down, and that's what I want for this jacket. Now the center front is sort of gaping, and that's exactly my what I have in my sketch. That's what I want to do. So I have cut out my pattern. Here is my back pattern right here. So you can see the A-line shape from the waist down. That's my center front. And for my neck width I use 4 inches, and for my neck depth for the back I use ½ an inch. Now I use the same pattern for back to cut out the front. The only difference is the neck depth, which is also 4 inches as well. You can decide to bring yours lower or make it higher, and that is up to you. So yeah, this is it. That's my center front there as well. So now it's time to cut this on pattern, but you can decide to actually make your center front more open or more closed, and that is up to you as well. So yeah, time to cut on fabric. So I've placed my pattern on fabric. Like I said earlier, if you want it to center front to be more closed, you can either increase your pattern size on fabric, just on the center front, nowhere else. So yeah, and then you cut it open. You cut it such that at the end of the day you end up with 2 pieces of your front pattern, and then you're going to end up with 1 piece of your back pattern, which should be cut on fold because the center back is not open. So I sort of curved out the bottom of the dress towards the side. I did the same thing for the back as well, so everything is all curved out. So here's my front piece. You're going to end up with 2 pieces, like I said earlier, 2 pieces for the front and 1 piece for the back, because the back will be cut on fold. It doesn't have any opening. So I also cut out lining for this as well, using the same fabric. You can use a different fabric for that. So this is the main fabric, and I'm going to be using it as pattern to cut out the interlining, which I have already done. So my main fabric is marked M. This is the interlining or interfacing. This is sort of to add more body to the jacket. And then here is my lining for both the front and the back piece, and my lining, it is marked L. This is the reason I marked them, is because I'm using the same fabric and I don't want any confusion at all. So now I'm going to add my interlining to my main fabric. Now the rough surface of the interlining will touch the wrong side of the fabric, and then I'm going to use spray water on it first before applying heat to it. This is such that this helps make the stay on very quickly with no hassle. And then you can move your iron around, or you can leave it in one place for a few seconds and then move to another portion. So that is how I add interlining to my fabric. So the interlining or the interfacing is added to the main fabric, not the lining of this jacket. Like I said, is to add more body to the jacket. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to trim off the excess and then do the same thing for the rest of my main fabric. So as you can see, it is very simple. Once you have your pattern all cut out, this process is very simple. But I'm going to show you how to line this jacket, which is also very important. So I have this for my front piece. I'm going to show you the rest of them. So this is it. This is the back piece. This is the front piece, and the back piece is underneath. So I'm going to keep this aside and then I'm going to work on the lining portion of the jacket. So for my lining, what I'm going to do is cut off 1 inch from the bottom of the lining for both the front piece and the back piece. So what I do first is mark out 1 inch with my tape rule from side to side for the back piece. You can actually do this when it's on fold as well. That will make it a lot faster. So but I decided to open this up. So this is the back piece. After marking, what you do is join the markings as much as possible. Try to make it precise so you don't end up shortened on the fabric. And then once you're done with that, you will then cut it out. So I do the same thing for the front portion of the jacket, of the lining, but I make sure I place them on top of each other. I'm going to place them on top of each other, do the markings, and then cut it out. Yeah, so this is very, very simple. And like I said, it was curved earlier, so I make sure to follow the curve when marking the 1 inch. So at the end of the day, I don't get shortened on my fabric. So I'm going to join now and then cut it out. So yeah, that's it. So what I've done now is to pin the front portion of the jacket to the back portion of the jacket. I did the same for my main fabric using dressmaker pins, and you can see the angle I did it so it is easy for sewing. So this is what I did. I did it for the main fabric and I did it for the lining as well, after shortening, of course. So now it's time to sew. So you're going to sew with whatever allowance you give to your fabric. That is very, very important. And I'm going to sew on these pins. These pins actually make your fabric stay in place, so you don't have to keep adjusting every time. So you're going to measure out your allowance and then you're going to start sewing. Of course, when you're sewing, you start with a back stitch. A back stitch helps you to seal your stitches. And then when you get to the end of the sewing, you also do a back stitch as well. So I'm going to sew all the way down. Do this on the main fabric, so the front piece, front portion of the jacket to the back portion of the jacket, and then do the same thing for the lining piece as well. So whenever you're getting to each pin which you've stuck on the fabric, make sure you just gradually move over it. You want to make sure your needle crosses that part, not climbs to the pin. So yeah, that's it for the sewing of the sides. So I'm going to remove the pins now and then show you how it looks. So this is how it looks after sewing, very clean. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side as well, and then I'm going to move to the shoulders. So I'll be joining the shoulders by half an inch, which is the allowance I gave for my shoulders. So I sew by half an inch. I sew from the side all the way to the neckline, and then I do the rest for the other pieces. So now I'm going to show you how to attach pockets to this. So I've cut out my pocket pieces two pieces which will be attached to the front, to the main fabric. Now what I'm going to do is hem these squares first. I'm going to fold it once. After smoothing it out, yeah, fold it right side, sort of fold it from the outside. After folding it, I fold it again, and that's what I mean by hemming. So I've done that for the two pieces. Now I'm going to show you how to attach it to your main fabric. So this is very, very simple. You mark out where you want it to be on your main fabric. You place it there, use your pins to hold it down so it doesn't shift, and then because when it shifts after sewing, it makes it look weird. So like I said, pin it where you want it to be. Very, very crucial, because you don't want to have to end up loosening your pocket and resewing again. That's time wasting. So make sure you pin it in place. Very, very simple. So now it's time to sew. So you can make sure you can sew by 0.25 inches. That's what I did here, 0.25 inches, and I start from the top of the pockets, do a back stitch, a little back stitch, sew all the way down. When I get to the bottom of the pocket, I sort of what I do is lift up my lift that up here, pivot my fabric, yeah, continue sewing all the way. Do the same thing when I get to the other side as well. Yeah, do the same thing at the other side. Pivot your fabric, and then you're done sewing. So like I said, it's very, very simple. You're done with your pocket. And of course, when cutting out your pocket, you need to make sure that your hand can pass through it, because if you can't pass through it, well, maybe it is for design purposes. So yeah, here is my pocket. I'm going to place my hand in now. You can see my hand fits right in, so you can increase the depth of your pocket as well. So for the shoulders, remember after sewing I didn't show you how to trim. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm going to show you now, sort of to have a smooth seam around the back portion towards the front piece, so you won't see the excess fabric bulging out. So I'm going to trim that off, and that's what we have right there. Do the same thing for the other side of the main fabric, and then for the lining as well. So there we go. So now I'm going to notch the curved parts of the jacket, and then I'm going to press the same so it lays really, really nice and clean. So, and then after doing that, here is my lining as well, all sewn. I'm going to place my lining on the main fabric with right sides touching. So now it's time for the main sewing with right sides touching. So make sure you place it correctly, and then we're going to be sewing the bottom by 1/2 inch. Please make sure it lays correctly, and then once you do that, yeah. So now I'm going to sew from the top of the center front. Now I'm going to sew the center front pieces of both lining and jacket all the way down. As I'm getting down, you remember I shortened the lining, so you can see the lining has sort of dragged the main fabric upward. Guys, can you see that? So that I'm going to hide the seam at the bottom. That's exactly why I shorten my lining. And this is very, very simple. So by the time I fold it in and turn it, by the time I turn the fabric, this is what I have. You can see this is the inside. This is the bottom seam, which has now come to the inside of my jacket. So very, very simple. So what this is not what is going to show now. So after that, I'm going to now join my neckline, join the main neckline to the lining, close it up. So at the end of the day, what you have is just the armhole. So I make sure the shoulders are joined correctly, are aligned properly before moving on to the back. I sew by 1/2 inch as well. So this is very, very simple. After you join the neckline, what you have left is just your armhole, and that is where what we'll be using to turn the jacket inside out. Please make sure your shoulders are aligned properly, both lining and main fabric, and then you close the neckline up. And then it's time for turning. So I turn through one of the armholes, and when I do that, before I close the armholes, I'm going to make sure I press every seam so it lays nice and flat. So yeah, this is what we have. You can try to close through the center front instead of the armhole, but I decided to close through the armhole. So this is what I have at the end of the day. I'm going to poke out the edges so they come out really neat. I'm going to use my scissors for that. I'm going to poke out the edges. Yeah, and then I'm going to iron. So now I've ironed, I've pressed my jacket. Now what I did was to fold my armhole inside by 1/2 inch and then use my pins to hold it. So you have your lining underneath, and then you have your main fabric on top. So these pins help me to make sure I sew properly. If you don't know where to get these pins, I'm going to link them in the description box, amongst other things. So like I said, you can close through your center front instead of your armhole, but I decided to close the jacket through my armhole. So I'll be sewing by 1/8 of an inch, meaning it is very, very close to the edge of the armhole. The reason I did that was to make it the seam not really, really visible. So it is very, very small by 1/8 of an inch. And then I sew all the way down, taking care as I cross over each of the pins that I have placed on the fabric. And then that's it, guys. Like I said, it is very, very simple. You're all done. If you decide not to shorten your lining, that is up to you, but I did that so as to make it very clean and easy. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, if you liked any of my videos and you're not subscribed, please do so by clicking the subscribe button, and also click the bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. So yeah, like I said, very simple. So this is how it looks at the end of the day, and I'm going to show you how it looks on my mannequin. Of course, I always do that. So thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.